few days ago, I was coaching a client and she mentioned a win from the past week. There was something that she had been procrastinating, an action that she just needed to take, but she was really struggling. So her husband said, "Didn't Kristen have a podcast episode on this? And wasn't it the episode that made you reach out to work with her in the first place?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah." So she went back and pulled it up. And while she was listening to it, she stopped procrastinating and did the thing. So I'm celebrating with her. And after our session, I'm like, I'm going to go back and listen to this episode. If it was enough to help her this weekend and enough for her to reach out in the first place, there must be something to it. So I pull it up. And as I'm listening, I'm like, duh, of course. Of course she mentioned it. And of course, I just randomly decided to re-listen to it because for months I had been totally, masterfully procrastinating a decision. But the thing about procrastination is that it's so freaking sneaky. Sometimes procrastination is super obvious. I am laying on this couch and I'm procrastinating doing the laundry. But sometimes procrastination looks really productive. Like, I just need a little more time to think. I want to brainstorm a little bit longer. I want to research a little more. As I'm listening to this episode, I'm like, I am freaking procrastinating and pretending like I'm really doing something. So while I was listening to the episode, I too made a decision to stop, just like my client did. So I'm like, well, shit. This episode really seems to do the trick. There's a reason why it's always in the top 5 of my most downloaded episodes. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it right here for you, because if my client mentioned it so that I could hear it, maybe if I mention it, it's something that you will need to hear. In this episode, I'm talking about why we procrastinate, the science behind it, why it's so sneaky, and how to stop. And let me just say, I'm pretty sure this episode might be magic. So if there happens to be something you are currently procrastinating, now would be the perfect time to go ahead and do the thing you've been putting off. And one last thing, make sure that you check the show notes or go to kristenfinch.com and get the daily calibration. These are reminders of the identity that you are shifting into that land in your inbox every morning so that you don't even have to think about it. You just use it as the reminder that we all need every morning. All right, without further ado, the magic procrastination episode. I want to talk about procrastination, but I really want to dive into the neuroscience behind it to help you understand procrastination on a different level. Sometimes I think that people forget that the things that I share, the insights that I teach, aren't pulled from thin air or feel-good theories. I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree in science, and my work revolved around rewiring faulty or damaged neural pathways. Sometimes these brains are damaged, injured, or developmentally different, but I would help my patients create new neural connections so they could be able to function at their highest potential. So my journey into coaching was natural because if I know how to rewire neural pathways in injured brains, why not rewire neural pathways in non-injured brains? Untangling connections that, even though they're not damaged, are still creating pain or creating undesired results for people. So here is the good news, and I really want you to hear this. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy, because you're weak, or because you lack willpower. Please hear this so that the next time you catch yourself procrastinating, you don't spiral off into shame. Listen, within your brain, there are a whole bunch of neurotransmitters. What is a neurotransmitter? It's a chemical messenger that relays information all around your body, and it does it through neurons. There is a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. When it's released, it signals an emergency. It increases your heart rate. It prompts all of the non-essential body systems to pause so that more oxygen flows to where it's needed for a quick escape. It does all the things we talk about when we talk about that fight or flight response. In general, Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This is a survival tactic. The issue, though, is that the pain we are avoiding stems from things like fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of people's opinions, and self-doubt. The pain is from the thinking, what if I try and fail? What will people think of me? What if I can't meet someone else's expectations? No one appreciates what I do anyway, or people criticize me, so why even bother? Okay? This is why we are procrastinating. The root is fear, which the brain interprets as pain, which it's wired to avoid. And guess who shows up? When your body starts interpreting there might be some danger, norepinephrine shows up. It surges whenever you are stressed or anxious or worried. It's part of your body's fight-flight system, getting you ready to take action. The problem is when you're just thinking about your to-do list. You don't need your body to be in a state of emergency, in a state of high alert. You don't need blood and oxygen flowing away from your brain and down to your legs so you can run quickly. But that's what happens when norepinephrine shows up to the party. It's like danger, danger. She's trying to figure out how to start her new business. She's trying to figure out how to have a hard conversation, how to get through this never-ending to-do list. That's what norepinephrine is showing up for. So your brain looks for the easiest escape from the pain because it's wired to avoid the pain and seek the pleasure. Hello, dopamine, another neurotransmitter shows up to the party because procrastination is actually the brain's attempt to seek pleasure by avoiding the pain. Brains love instant gratification. They love this immediate release of pain. So it uses things like scrolling through social media. It gives you a little dopamine hit. Binge watching Netflix, a little dopamine hit. Eating a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups, dopamine hit. It's choosing momentary, temporary pleasures over the long-term rewards that you really want, like getting through a to-do list or finishing a project. The reason why your brain loves instant gratification is because it's an efficient machine. If the goal is always avoid pain, seek pleasure, you could work hard on this goal. And yeah, maybe when you finish it, it'll feel really good. But hey, listen, you can also have some chocolate and feel great now. The brain isn't interpreting things that you're doing as good or bad. It's just looking for something that's efficient and pleasurable. So it will choose the instant gratification over the long-term goals. This isn't because you lack willpower. It's your neurotransmitters at play. It's dopamine responding to norepinephrine saying, hey, looks like you're stressing about that big goal. How about we do something fun instead? And before you know it, reaching for the phone, heading to the pantry, seeking out that dopamine hit. Do you see this from a new perspective? It's just chemistry. Procrastination boils down to chemicals in your brain that are beyond your conscious control being released to escape pain and seek pleasure. You can't control your neurotransmitters. That is part of your autonomic nervous system. You are not able to shut those off or turn them on, but you can influence them over time and repetition. So if we want to overcome procrastination, but it's a chemical thing, then it's not about having more willpower. It's about learning how to collaborate with your chemical brain, not against it. Simply acknowledge that it's your autonomic nervous system doing what it's supposed to do, so you can start taking ownership of it, recognizing what triggers your procrastination. Oh, this is what's happening. There's a predictability. So once you know that, you can prepare for it. And I want to offer you 2 really practical, easy ways to start cooperating with your brain so that you can stop procrastinating. The first thing is to break it down into yes. Take whatever task, whatever project, whatever hard thing that you are procrastinating and break it down into the smallest, tiniest, most manageable pieces. These pieces need to feel doable. Yeah, I could totally do that. They need to feel safe. Yeah, I can handle that. Breaking it down to yes, it feels like a yes in your body. Let me give you an example. I had a cluttered house, specifically a cluttered basement, that overwhelmed me for years. My neurotransmitters were screaming at me to fix it. Do it all at once. Do it. Go down to that basement. Even though that clutter is stacked from floor to ceiling, you need to just go down there, spend a day, get it all done, then it'll be done. But the thought of doing that paralyzed me. The overwhelm was making me procrastinate. I wasn't working with my neurotransmitters. Eventually, I decided I need to break this down. Clearly, doing it all at once is overwhelming me. If I allowed myself to let it take a little bit longer, what would be a doable and safe step? Could I do an hour? Like, yeah, but there's going to be days where I don't have an hour. There's going to be days when I try to have an hour, but I don't. But I can always find 10 minutes in my day. And so that is where I started, 10 minutes a day. And every single day, I set my phone timer for 10 minutes. I grabbed some garbage bags, I went to the basement, and I tackled a small section of the clutter 10 minutes at a time every single day. And what I had been procrastinating for years took just a few months of 10-minute sessions. Okay? Break it down to a doable, safe step. The second thing is time blocking. Once you have that small step that feels manageable, you have to put it in your calendar. Don't just try to squeeze it in. You will find something more urgent to do. You have to decide, this is when I'm going to do it, this is how long I'm going to do it, and this is what I'm going to do. You want to ensure that there is a small step happening every day until you've completed the task. Gradually showing up and making tiny steps every day changed my story from I never follow through to I am consistent-ish. It wasn't about perfection. That is how you can move through procrastination. You just need to work with your brain instead of fighting against it. By working with your chemicals instead of resisting them, instead of trying to do something that your brain is not wired to do, like go all in, do it all at once, and then come back into overwhelm and eventually procrastination. It's so important to get it on your schedule and have it there every day. Because this daily repetition of what you're working towards, of who you're becoming, it not only soothes your nervous system, but it's also reshaping the stories and the beliefs that you have about yourself that trigger those neurotransmitters. This is the science behind why you procrastinate and using that same science to stop. You've got this. And if you are looking to change your patterns, change your habits, change your life, this is what I do. I know how to rewire all brains, including yours. Check those show notes, and I will see you next time.